just won the rights over 350,000 acres of their ancestral lands in November of 2020. You may have remembered hearing about that on the news. I know that I do. Some of the dangerous animals that call this jungle home are the venomous pit viper, ranging from 4 to 6 feet in length. Venomous spiders, one of them being the blonde tarantula. When I read that, I pictured a tarantula in a blonde wig. They can grow up to 5 inches in length. No thank you. Kissing bugs, which are known to bite people's lips and carry Chagas disease, which can be fatal. Jaguars, pumas, so there's definitely a rich wildlife in this area. I was reading a blog online called Journey Era from someone who hiked the trail in 2018. They said toward the entrance there's a sign with all of the trail rules, but the sign also says no hiking, which is just a little bit confusing. They only saw one local person on the entire trail that day, so that gives you an idea that this trail is definitely less traveled. I googled reviews of the trail, and among the multiple reviews warning people about what happened to Lisanne and Kris, I found one saying that the trail is not marked all the way through and that you could easily take a local path and veer off of the main trail. Days before the girls went on their hike, they were approached by a local guide that offered them a tour of a nearby national park. The guide stated that they hours or so. I have a feeling they made the trip up in good time because they seem to be in pretty good shape, so they probably weren't worried about taking a few more minutes to explore. One of the next notable photos is in a ravine. It's covered on the sides and from above by vines and sticks. The canopy of sticks above almost looks man-made. Kris is slightly crouching in front of what appears to be the entrance to a cave. She's looking back at Lisanne, who is quite a ways behind her, and Kris isn't really paying attention to the camera anymore. You can tell that she's curious about something, and she's kind of like signaling to Lisanne to come with her. It's hard to find a clear version of this photograph, but this is my impression of what I see. To the left of Kris, to our left when looking at the photo, it looks like a cattle skull. A cattle skull with red stuff on it, hanging on something kind of like an ornament. And this is at the entrance of the cave. There's also something on her right. I can't tell what it is, but it doesn't look natural. It looks like possibly a torch on a long stick. In photo number 508, taken at 1:58 p.m., we see Kris crossing a stream, standing on a rock and looking back at presumably Lisanne, who's taking the photo. Kris has a little bit of mud on her legs, and she seems a little worn out, but not really concerned or anything. This was the last photo taken that day. However, it's not the last photo on this camera. Photo 509 was deleted. No other photos on this camera had been deleted in the past. Almost 100 photos were taken on April 8th. A week after the girls went missing, between 1 and 4 a.m. in the jungle, in the dark. Most of the photos only show bright white orbs in the night sky, presumably rain droplets. Others show rocks, shrubbery, and trees, but nothing that was able to be used to identify their location. One photo shows a stick with 2 small red bags on it, sitting someone who was aware that there was a non-existent phone signal in this area, so they didn't bother taking their phones from them. Because if Lisanne was able to briefly connect by dialing 911, don't you think that she would have told Kris this so that Kris wouldn't be wasting her time dialing 112 4 hours later? On April 3rd, the iPhone dialed 911 at 9:33 a.m., meaning someone had then communicated with Kris that she needed to be dialing 911. Unless she thought of this on her own at this point. At 4 p.m., the iPhone was switched on to check the signal. The Samsung was used to check the signal at 1:50 p.m. and 4:19 p.m. April 4th, the iPhone was switched on to check the signal at 10:16 a.m. and 1:42 p.m. On April 5th, the iPhone was turned on to check the signal at 10:50 a.m. and 1:37 p.m. The Samsung was turned on to check the signal at 4:50 a.m. that morning. An attempted switch on at 5:56 a.m. failed due to a dead battery. On April 6th, the iPhone was switched on at 10:26 a.m. and 1:37 p.m., but multiple incorrect PIN attempts were made. On April 11th, the iPhone was switched on at 10:51 a.m. and off at 11:56 a.m., again after multiple incorrect PIN attempts. This is the 11th, so this is a few days after those last photos on the camera were taken. This could have been Lisanne attempting to open the iPhone. Not having an iPhone, she may not have been aware that you could swipe to make an emergency call without having to unlock the phone. Or it could have been a third party attempting to access the phone to get rid of any potential evidence. I think that we can confidently say the girls were alive until at least April 5th. Who else would have been attempting to dial the Dutch 112 emergency number? And who would have been entering in Kris's PIN correctly up until that time? This means that they either survived on their own in the jungle for 5 days with only a few bottles of water and, I'm sure, limited amounts of food, or they were held captive somewhere. If we're going to believe that they're the ones that took those what you guys think happened to Lisanne and Kris. Even if it's just a theory, I'm really curious. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if